page 113 in your math workbook. So let's go to page 113 together. The Monstrosity roller coaster has seats for 136 riders. The roller coaster completes 4 runs each half hour. If all the seats on the roller coaster are filled each run, how many people can ride in a half hour? So first let's think about our equation. What we're needing to find out. There are 4 runs each half hour, and there are seats for 136 riders. So this is our equation. Now there's several things that we can do here. We can build an area model. So if we build an area model to solve it, remember area models, we're using a rectangle. We're multiplying all of our numbers by 4, and then we're breaking our larger number, our larger factor, into expanded form. So we would have 100, 30, and then 6. Okay, so then we're multiplying each of those. So this would look like, so here's our equation again. So if we did that with distributive property, we would say 4 times 100 plus 4 times 30 plus 4 times 6. Okay? Then we would multiply and get the partial product for each. So that would be 400 plus 120 plus 24. And then we would add these together, and we would get 544. Now again, remember, if you can't add horizontally, you need to come over to the side and you need to rewrite it vertically, but make sure you line your numbers up. And you should get the same answer. So there are 544 people that can ride the roller coaster in a half hour. So here we're using the area model, we're breaking it into expanded form, and then we're using the distributive property to help find the whole product. So you're going to hear me use that word again from yesterday's lesson called partial product. So let's go to page 114 and let's continue to work through this together. All right, for build understanding. On Saturday, 264 people ride a carousel in the park. On Sunday, 3 times as many people ride the carousel. How many people ride the carousel on Sunday? So you can see here in our paper that they already have the area model for us. So this is our area model. And then they also have our equation started for us. So we just really need to fill things in. Well, we know that they ride 3 times, so that's what we're multiplying by. So we're going to put 3 on the left side of our model. Then we're going to break our 264, our larger, our greater factor, we're going to break that into expanded form. So looking at the value of each number. So 2 groups of 100 is 200, 6 groups of 10 is 60, 4 groups of 1 is 4. Okay, then we're going to multiply. 3 times 2 is 600. So we're going to bring 600 over here in the purple box. Okay, then 3 times 60 is 180. So write that in the orange box. And then 3 times 4 is 12. That goes in the green box. Okay, so now we have our partial products. We have 3 partial products. We're going to add all of those together and we're going to get the whole product. So we have 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. 8 plus 1, 9, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So our whole product is 792. Now, they want us to be able to explain our answers here. So we're going to explain our answers. So let's start with A and B. What is the first step for showing the problem? What did we do first? We broke that greater factor that I circled up here. We broke it into hundreds, tens, and ones. So we're going to write break 264 into hundreds, tens, and ones. So our hundreds, tens, and ones. All right, now question. It says, why do we multiply the hundreds first? So if you go back and you revisit even second grade, we talked about you always start on the right side of the equation when you're adding the numbers, and you always add ones first. Well, here we're looking at, why did we start with the hundreds first? The reason we're starting with the hundreds first is because of the way our model is arranged, or the way that it's set up. It's set up so that we start multiplying on the left side of our model. So because we're starting on the left side, we're starting in the greatest place value first, which is our hundreds, which means I'm going to multiply the hundreds first. So we can say our area model goes left to right. With the greatest, this is important, this part right here, the greatest value first. So because that area model goes with the greatest value first, we start multiplying the hundreds first. Alright, now so make sure you have this information, because I'm going to slide down on my paper and it's going to take those answers away. So if you need to, you can pause the video. Let's look at C, D, and E. Okay, going back and looking at your information that you wrote above, it says now write the partial products in each section of the area model. So we did that. It says how can you use place value to help you record the partial products and to find the whole product? So how can we use place value, our hundreds, tens, and ones, to help us record our partial products and then find the whole product, which in the end is the answer to our problem. So one way we could write that is we line up each digit. So if you remember, and you can't see it on my board, but you remember this area over here, after we solved it in our area model, we matched the answer that we got in the area model to the color over in our equation. So we can say, for C, we line up each digit, another word for that is number, so each digit by the place value position. So what that's saying is we line up all of our hundreds, we line up all of our tens together, we line up all of our ones together. And then you add the partial products. So you add the partial products. D, how many people rode the carousel on Sunday? If you remember in our word problem, that was the ultimate question. How many people rode on Sunday? And our number that we came up with, 792. How could we determine if that answer is reasonable? So going back and looking at our equation, and I'm just going to write it down here just for myself so I can remember. 264 times 3. Going back to our original equation, let's look at that number, the greater factor, and let's round it to the closest hundred. Well, if I look at the 2, that's the number I'm trying to round, so I'm going to move over to the tens, and I'm going to use the 6 in the tens place to help me round. 6 is 5 or greater, so I'm going to move up. So I'm going to say that 264 is close to 300, so I'm going to move up to the next 100. And then I can multiply 3 times 300. And we know our basic fact, if 3 times 3 is 9, add 2 zeros. So what that tells me is my estimate is 900. 792, is close to 900. So I can say that my answer of 792 is a reasonable answer because it is close to my estimate of 900. So you are using skills that we've taught you before on these new lessons. That's why you need to really pay attention. All right, so here's what I'd like for you to do. Instead of me going through Step It Out on page 115 with you in the video, I want you to pause the video now and I want you to complete Step It Out and Check Understanding on your own. And then I want you to turn the video back on to check your work. So go ahead and start on that now. I want you to practice doing this. Okay, so at this point, you should have had a chance to complete page 115 on your own. So let's look at Step It Out together. Number 2, Treetop Academy is ordering notebooks for each of their 2,356 students. How many notebooks should they order? Use what you know about expanded form, partial products, and place value to find the product. So remember, product is the answer. So A, they want us to multiply. Okay, so we're going to say, remember we use those pictures, 4 notebooks, that's what we're going to multiply by, and then there were 2,356 students. So 2,356. So I'm going to estimate. So I'm going to look at rounding that 2,356. I'm going to round to the nearest thousand. 3 is lower than 5, so we're going to stay with 2,000. So if I estimate 4 times 2 is 8, and I'm going to add 3 zeros. So here's my estimate. 8,000 notebooks is what I think. Now, I'm going to use expanded form to break apart the greater factor. So the greater factor in this word problem is that larger number. So we're going to say 2,000 plus 300 plus 50 plus 6. Okay, now let's look at C. Multiply and record the partial products. Then add the partial products. So we've already done 4 times 2,000. So that's 8,000. This is where you got to be really careful and line your products up. 4 times, our next number is 300. So 4 times 300, look at that basic fact of 4 times 3. That's 12 and 2 zeros. Then we have 4 times 50. 4 times 50 is 200. And then we have 4 times our last number is 6, so it's 24. This is important. This part right here is really important. Making sure you line those numbers up correctly. Ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. And now we need to add. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 4 is 4. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. Now let's be careful here. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. We'll put our comma to separate our hundreds from our thousands, and then 8 plus 1 is 9. So 9,424 notebooks. Is our answer reasonable? Explain. Okay, so a possible answer that you could have written down here. We know, let's go back to our estimate. I'm just going to draw a line instead of writing it out. But on your line, you should have said 9,424 is close to our estimate that we started with of 8,000. So yeah, our answer is reasonable. We could say that 9,424 is a reasonable response. Okay, so make sure you have this written down. Remember, you can always use this module to help you with your test. All right, now we're going to look at check understanding. So we're doing some estimating. So for check understanding today, it says estimate, then use the partial products to find the answer. Okay, so what they're wanting us to do is take that greater number and we're going to round it. So 34 is closer to 30, so then we multiply. We know that 7 times 3 is 21. We add a 0. So our estimate is 210. Okay, then we need to add. Now let's look at 4 times 7. We know that 4 times 7 is 28. and then we add those two partial products together, and we should get 238. And how do we know our answer is reasonable? It's very close to our estimate, so we could say that that answer is correct. All right, let's look at number 2. This time we want to round, so we're going to take the greater factor, which is 496. We're going to round that to 500, and we know that 5 times 3 is 15. And 2 zeros, so our estimate is 1,500. All right, then we're going to actually multiply. Okay, so 6 times 3. Actually, let's start with the hundred. Excuse me, got mixed up there. 4 times 3 is 1,200. That's 12, and then we add 2 zeros. Then we say 9 times 3 is 27. So we're in the hundreds, so we're going to put 27 in the hundreds, add a 0. Then 6 times 3 is 18. And now we add all of our partial products together. And you have 1,488. And again, to check your answer, if it's close to your estimate, then we can say your answer is reasonable. All right, so let's look at number 3. This time we want to estimate. So we're going to look at our number, our larger factor, and we're going to estimate and say that we can say that's close to 3,000. So then 3 times 9 is 27, and we add 3 zeros, so that's our estimate. Now let's actually multiply. So we're going to start with the thousands, and we're going to say 2 times 9, and that's 18. And then we're going to put 3 zeros here to represent the 5, 8, and 1. All right, now we're going to say 5 times 9, and that's 45. So we're in the hundreds. So 4,500. Then we're going to say 8 times 9 is 72. And then 1 times 9 is 9. So we're going to add all 4 partial products together. And you have 9, 2, 5 plus 7. Now what's 5 plus 7? We're looking at 12. We have to do some regrouping here. Carry a 1 over to the thousands. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 4, 13. So we're going to have to carry over to the 10,000s. 1 plus 1 is 2. So 23,229, and that is close to 27,000. So we can say that that answer is reasonable. All right, don't forget, go to your Padlet, answer your question for today's lesson, and that is your exit ticket from me to see that you understand what you're doing. If you have any questions, don't hesitate, ask me.